As an artist, no matter where I am, I think I can always find a supply to draw with. And of course, as I was perusing the Home Depot, I found an entire section that had some pencils, markers, and weird enough crayons. But the ones that I was most interested were these right here, the weirdly shaped carpenter pencils with the red lead, the normal, very fat and round pencils that were kind of thick, and the last thing was just like the first carpenter pencil, except this one is orange and has regular graphite inside instead of the red graphite. They also came in like these bundle packs that came with the sharpener, which was needed for that weirdly shaped pencil. Otherwise I would have had to chip at it away with a knife, and I'm kinda not for that, I'm not gonna lie. And they also sold the sharpeners separate. So hi everyone, I'm Ward, and welcome to my channel Wardrawsalot, and today we're going to be drawing with these Home Depot pencils. Now I know what you're thinking, Ward, don't you as an artist have about 1,000,001 pencils that you could use? And to that, I say yes, I do, but I don't have no Home Depot pencils, so it's time to try them out. Our first pencil is just a regular cylindrical shape, right? We got like an orange barrel that says Home Depot, and this pencil is thick, but I don't know if you can necessarily tell until I compare it to a regular pencil in a minute. Then we also have this, which is called a carpenter pencil. I just called it the octo pencil until I actually looked it up, but it's a carpenter pencil, and this one has some regular graphite inside of it compared to this one, which has red lead written at the end of it, which would mean red graphite. I doubt they would actually put lead in the pencils, and if they did, then I got a nice little surprise for myself in store, I guess. And of course the barrel is wooden, so you could tell the difference. Now, when it comes to that rounded pencil from earlier, I really wanted to show how fat this pencil is. This is a regular Ticonderoga. I think everybody has used one in their life, or practically everyone. It's what we use for standardized tests, at least here in America. And comparing that pencil to the Home Depot one, it's like literally twice the size of the Ticonderoga. Even the lead size inside, or graphite size inside, is twice as big as it is on the Ticonderoga, and I figure that is because you want a stronger pencil when you're out in the field working construction, because let's be real, these pencils are for construction workers or anybody who's doing some labor work, and they need pencils strong and not easily breakable, so you don't have to sit there and look for pencils constantly. So it's made to be like sturdier, and that just makes sense. Even the eraser size is like double the size of the Ticonderoga one, which again makes sense. You don't want to sit out there looking for an eraser, and even the carpenter pencils alone don't have erasers. I think that they just kind of write over any mistakes, and then they kind of move on with what would they need to do, because I guess, like, you know, the whole idea of time is money. And here they are sharpened next to each other, so you could kind of tell the difference as well. And you could see that the barrel for the Home Depot one is just fat as hell. It's just fat compared to the Ticonderoga one, and again, all for an actual reason. So I thought that that would be nice for me, for the sole fact that it's not as skinny to hold, which I like because it's less strain on my wrist. Then you also have these carpenter pencils, which needed that, what's it called, that sharpener that I had to buy specifically, because otherwise I would have had to chip at it with a knife, or like something to scrape away at it until I get the lead, and I was not down for that, because I don't want to do that, bro. I used to do it all the time when we were kids, and I'm just like, no, I don't, not doing that again. But here they are kind of side by side in how the graphite looks like in the pencil. And here it is from the top view, in case you were wondering what it looked like as well. Oh, and in case you were wondering, this is what the pencil shaving looks like. I kind of thought it was a little pretty. It looks like a flower. So I just wanted to add that in there because, you know, I like that. I thought you guys would like it too. So now it comes time for a test. Just like every other item I've ever used, I always test it before I go ahead and use it. And I wanted to see if there really was a difference within the graphite of these kinds of pencils versus the normal pencils that we use. And what I've noticed is that these pencils are a lot harder to erase, especially if you go very heavy with the pencil. Now, that is the case for like every pencil. If you go really hard, it's going to be way harder to erase. But even the lighter marks were harder to erase as well. And I told myself that makes sense because, again, you're out in the field, you don't want a measurement to just disappear on you because because you wrote it in and it just decided not to be there anymore, especially if you're working and those measurements are really important. So I figure the harder you press down, and a lot of construction workers or just workers in general are very heavy-handed, the harder it would be to erase these kind of measurements or important notes or anything of the type. And the hardest one to erase definitely was the red pencil, so I had to be super careful with that one in case I mess up and I'm like, okay, now I cannot get rid of this pencil mark. But overall, the pencils didn't feel any crazier or any worse than any other pencil, but it did just feel much sturdier in the hand, and the graphite did feel reliable. Now, of course, after we've tested out the supplies, it's time to put them to the test and do an illustration with these pencils. Now, for the illustration, I ended up sticking with the one pencil, which is the fatter round pencil, and I'll tell you why. When it comes to the fatter rounder pencil, I can get a nice sharp point to it. I did have to find a sharpener in my own, supplies that fit the pencil itself, because it was pretty fat, so it couldn't fit a normal pencil sharpener. It had to use one of those wide hole sharpeners, and after finding one that fit, I could get it really, really sharp and really pointy, the pencil. But when it came to the carpenter pencils, the, octagonal shaped ones, those were a little bit more difficult to get a good point out of, and that was mostly due to its shape. So no matter how much I tried sharpening the pencil and going back and forth and trying to get like a really exact tip, and it just wouldn't, because these pencils weren't made for precision work, you know what I mean? Art is very fine, it's very precise, it's very calculated. When you're doing something or when you're using a supply towards it, it's very much strategical when you use a pencil when it comes to art. But when you're using it and it comes to the field and you're mostly just writing down quick tips or something that is sturdy enough to last or is like, on the go, it's not going to be able to be as fine as a regular pencil. And I think we could tell that even within the different shapes of each pencil, because with this round one, I was able to get some fine tips and it had an eraser, and it was much easier to kind of use when it came to writing down on paper. So my guess is these kinds of pencils, like the one I have in my hand, is more so for the people who would do work that requires a lot more writing, even if it is out in the field, compared to the carpenter pencil, which you would just kind of take out of your tool belt and then use it as like a quick guide or measurement or some kind of like a line that you would use to cut something. It wasn't meant for anything that was meant to last or be put down on paper to be read or go over later, you know what I mean? So even though these pencils, they have the same kind of feel to them and everything, and I'm guessing even the same kind of graphite, the shape of the pencil itself does kind of have a play in this because of the way it can sharpen, how pointy it can get, how well it can be used, and just what its use is for. But regardless, I still wanted to try and see what kind of work these pencils can do, which is kind of what I always like to do. I like to test supplies, see how far they can go, and for the price that they are. Like this pencil, I think was 33 cents, and that's fantastic for a thick-ass pencil like this that has really strong lead, and that will probably last like a long long time, because the pencil graphite just does not break. It's really sturdy, and I like that about the pencil. And on top of that, it's just way nicer to hold. The graphite gets really dark and it gets really light, which I like, but the only disbenefit is the fact that it's really hard to erase. So I had to be very calculative with where I put my pencil and how I kind of fill everything in. Otherwise, it would just be a huge disaster for me, and that would have not been good. At the end of the day, I guess I just always want to try these kinds of supplies because I want to prove that it's not always the supply that you need. You don't need something fancy, you just need something that gets the job done. More than anything, we all have to work on our skills, and we can have really great supplies. Like, I have some really good paints, but I'm shit at painting. Like, I can't do it. So I have some really good paints just sitting there because I don't know how to use them properly at the end of the day, But I practiced really hard with my markers, and I can do my blending really good, and I know how to use them, so they are expensive supplies that I know how to use, and I can admit that I'm much better at that than I would be with like painting, right? A lot of it is just based off of your skill, determination, how hard you want to work for it, and just how used to it you are. Like, I drew a portrait, which, I've done portraits millions of times. It really puts in perspective that if I've done it a million times, I've definitely become more comfortable at it and can go in with a pencil and go really hard with a bunch of strokes and be confident in it. So it doesn't matter what kind of supplies you have at the end of the day, it matters on your confidence on how you go into this. But it can matter how you use the supplies as well. So like, for example here, I did go really, really dark on the hair so you could see a contrast between everything else, like compared to how much lighter the eyeshadow is or some of the shadows around the face. I also came in with that red color pencil and colored in some certain parts to kind of make it pop. Like the lips had a lot of the darker graphite on the outside, and on the inside is the red, so you have this beautiful gradient on the lips to kind of show that, they're wearing like a lipstick. And then the blush on the clean parts of the face, and then some eyeshadow with some of the darker graphite around it as well, all to help give, different variations of contrast and show that you just need to learn how to play with your supplies correctly to kind of deliver the message you want to, which in this case I wanted to deliver the message of somebody who is kind of very cool toned with some very shiny hair, and the lips would stand out and the makeup and the red on them, so it's a very black, white, and red piece. I also, of course, at the end of it all, went on top with a white gel pen to kind of make some parts pop, like the whites of the eyes, and along with the lips to kind of make them glossy. Overall, with just some Home Depot pencils, I feel like I made an incredible portrait, and I would love to use them again. They're honestly a pretty reliable supplies, and I just liked using them, honestly, for sketching. So yeah, thanks for watching, and remember I love you. Bye!